Congratulations to Brett Kavanaugh for being sworn in as a bloody pulp to now sit on the Supreme Court of the United States with probably a reputation that will be tarnished for the rest of his life, and having been a part of setting the stage for the demise of American politics, and dare I say, helping to set the stage for violence. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. Welcome to the program, friend. Today's show is one of those programs where I am going to give you food for thought. Now, allow me to be just a little preachy for a moment. Our devices, I'm talking about our phones and our computers, our televisions, they mitigate against thought because we're told what to think using our devices. So I'm going to share some stuff today that's going to be pretty intense, all right? This will primarily be a child-safe program, but you might, if you've got little kids in the room, you might want to send them out. I don't think I'm going to go too far off of the child-safe plantation, but I'm going to give you some food for thought that's fairly troubling because we need to be troubled. Woe unto those who grieve not for the ruin of Joseph, the scriptures say. Let your joy be turned to laughter. It says, let your joy be turned to sorrow and your laughter be turned to mourning, the book of James, the author of James said. So there is a time to have deep thoughts. There's a time to have deep grief. There's a time to assess what's going on and to look down the road. What does this mean? Where are we going? Where are we headed? And our devices, because of the speed at which data comes at us, kind of derail us from thought. So my encouragement to you, I live near a pond, and there are ducks at that pond. And sometimes I'll just go sit there with the ducks around. Don't take my phone with me. Don't have a computer with me, nothing. Just to be able to sit there with my thoughts and to pray and to think. And I'm encouraging you to pray and to think about some of the things that I'm going to share with you on today's program. Because they will affect you, and they will affect what you do, and they will affect what happens to your family. Brett Kavanaugh has been sworn in as the replacement for Justice Kennedy. The process of his victory in the Senate was despicable. It was grueling. It was horrific. It was evil. Now, after he was sworn in, let me roll back tape because it's been a few days since I did a show. It's been last Thursday. The FBI concluded its investigation. No corroborating evidence ever came forward regarding the accusations of Ford or anyone else. With the exception of Ford, all the rest were ludicrous. And I think the further we get away from Ford's accusations, the more ludicrous they appear. But I don't want to relive that. The point is this. After the FBI found no corroborating evidence at all, the godless enemies of righteousness who care about child killing in Roe versus Wade, they still went on television accusing him of being a sexual predator, saying that this was a great blow to women, that the misogynists have won the day, that any woman who dared to support Kavanaugh, including Susan Collins, who was quite a surprise, I'll admit, that they're all traitors against women, that they're evil people. These are despicable human beings. And I mean that with clinical precision. But the fact that they're despicable human beings, that's not the thing for us to worry about, all right? There have been despicable human beings since Cain killed his brother Abel over which sacrifice God liked. The problem is not that they're despicable human beings. The problem is that they have levers of power in their hands and they have the levers of communications in their hands. Those two things. One of the key elements of winning war is who has power and who has the ability to communicate. A poll recently came out that showed 92% of coverage about President Trump on the news outlets, 92% was negative. 92%. CNN, since Kavanaugh's swearing in, has done another segment about the private parts of the President of the United States. All right? These things were unheard of one generation ago. You wouldn't even have you just wouldn't have a discussion about that, about anybody. Even somebody convicted of being a serial rapist, you would not have a segment on news about their private parts, if for nothing else, because of decorum, common decency. But these godless fill in the blank at CNN, they're such wretched human beings that they are reaching out to millions of their viewers with a segment about the private parts of the President of the United States. All right? So the problem is not that they're despicable at CNN, because they are. The problem is that they are reaching millions of people with poison, with lies. They're promoting debauchery on one hand, and they're falsely accusing people on the other, to the end of making America in their own debauched image. Then you have the Chuck Schumers, and you have the Nancy Pelosi's, and you have the plethora of people, the Sotomayors and the Kagans on the Supreme Court. You have this plethora of people that are in positions of power who are hell-bent on accomplishing hell's agenda. Now, I've got to take a break. But there's some of you that are tired of the battle, tired of the news, tired of the struggle, and some people feel like quitting. And I have a solution. I have a solution for you. Don't go away. You're going to want to hear it. I'll be right back. Warrior Guitars. Without question, the best guitar I've ever played, heard, or seen is a Warrior. The owner of Warrior, Jay Dran, has an incredible testimony of redemption and healing. God gave him the vision to start Warrior Guitars and a passion to make the best guitars in the world. They only make about 120 guitars a year, each one by hand. Maybe one of them could be yours, or a once-in-a-lifetime gift for someone you love.
The one thing that I can tell you is this is the most finely crafted guitar I have ever held. I've played a lot of guitars, I own a lot of guitars, and although the quality is exceptional on all of them, this is by far the most finely crafted instrument I own or have ever played. And I'm glad I own it.
Contact my friends at Warrior Guitar. Tell them Randall Terry sent you. When you look back at World War II and what the Germans did in the 30s before the war actually broke out, the control of media, the control of propaganda, the control of information was central to their agenda. And when you consider 92% of the reports about President Trump are negative, some of them are just fierce attacks, it's a miracle. It's a miracle that we're getting as much done as we can. Just incremental, itty-bitty things, but the move back to righteousness. Anwar finally opened up. I've been saying for decades that we've got to open up Anwar to drilling. President Trump has done that. The Keystone Pipeline. There's just so many things. Placing what we hope are 2 judges on the Supreme Court that will overturn Roe. We don't know. Gorsuch and Kavanaugh could both turn out to be treacherous. We just don't know. But that being said, if you look back at the Nazis with their propaganda, feeding people information and withholding information was central to their scheme. And I am comparing CNN to Goebbels, okay? The ministered propaganda for the Nazis. I am. Although it's possible that Goebbels had, their level of integrity was probably pretty much the same. That'd be my guess. Anyway, it's critical to victory for any side to control information. And to that end, I want to thank publicly Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh at the top of the food chain, and then a host of other lesser lights, but good men and women, Dr. Laura Ingraham, the people who are on television, who are on radio. Tucker Carlson is doing a great job of calling balls and strikes. He's turned out to be quite a broadcaster. I'm really impressed with him. There are just some good people out there, and it's because in part of them that we have a flow of information that is at least at our disposal. With people at the helm in Google and Facebook, they're gonna be worse than CBS and NBC, friends, just choking out data. So where you get your information is gonna be critical. But let me continue with my thought before the break, and that is that some of you are weary. Some of you are just have had it. And St. Augustine wrote that the thing that the warrior wants is peace. Think about that. The warrior pursues peace. He said tyrants pursue peace because what they want in the end is that people obey their will. They bend to their will. The tyrannical dad in the house, if he gets what he wants, there can be peace in the house. He can be a tyrant that does not express his tyranny. Dictators can be tyrants that don't express their tyranny as long as everyone submits. So for those of you that want peace at all costs, I have a solution for you. Ready? Vote Democrat this fall. Vote Democrat if you want peace to come, because the people who are in the streets, who are following senators and congressmen, making threats. This school teacher, I think it was in Minnesota, in the last 24 hours has been put on leave from her job because she said, and I quote, "Who's going to take one for the team and kill Kavanaugh?" Close quote. She meant it. Who's going to kill this judge? Now, this is somebody who is a teacher at an intermediate school. So these are the people who are fighting, the people who are threatening senators, threatening judges, taking to the streets, promoting violence. They are so filled with rage. They want peace, but they want it with their will, okay? They want their will. So if you want peace, if you want the conflict to end, just vote Democrat. Because then it'll end. Because people on the right tend to be far more polite. I mean, we're still going to fight politically, but we're going to do it with more judiciousness and perhaps a little bit more wit, a little bit more humor. But, you know, look at the Obama years. Look at how peaceful things were for many people. All right, there was a lot of people in poverty, but they had peace. There was a lot of people that were on food stamps, but they had peace. We didn't have night after night going after the president. We had night after night applauding the president and loving the president. Happy-go-lucky news broadcasts telling us what a great deal the Iranian deal was with their nuclear power program. So if you want peace, just vote Democrat. Chuck Schumer can be the Senate Majority Leader. Nancy Pelosi can be the leader of the House. We can get rid of the right-wing agenda of President Trump. We can probably set the wheels in motion for President Trump to be impeached, because that's what the Democrats have said repeatedly. They want to impeach Trump. We can impeach Kavanaugh. Nancy Pelosi said that we should entertain impeaching Kavanaugh if he is confirmed to the Supreme Court. So if you're looking for peace, vote Democrat. That's all you have to do. If you want unemployment to go back up, vote Democrat. But forget the unemployment. If you want food stamps with peace, horrible trade deals with peace, Supreme Court justices who support baby killing with peace, if you want righteousness to be mocked with peace, vote Democrat. Just surrender. Just surrender to the will of these tyrants, and you can have peace. How important is peace to you? Just count the costs and embrace the hell. I'll be right back. Have Muslim terrorists hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam? Or is there more to the story? The answer lies in the life of one man, Muhammad, the founder of Islam. Muslim terrorists see themselves inside a 1,400-year-old story, a narrative that focuses on specific events in the life of Muhammad. We are going to look at Muhammad's life using their most sacred literature. We will look at Muhammad at the Battle of Badr. We'll see him deal with those who mock him. We'll see the times when he used deception. We'll witness Muhammad's anti-Semitism. And yes, we will discuss Muhammad and his teachings concerning sex, slavery, and jihad. Friend, if you want to understand Islamic terrorism, get this series today. Friends, we are 28 days away from a midterm election. Midterm election gets its name because it's in between the presidential terms, the presidential electoral cycle. So traditionally, when a midterm election comes along, the president's party, whatever president is in power, loses seats in the House and the Senate. That's normally what happens. In 2002, my memory is correct, after 9/11, the Republicans picked up a few seats in the House after George W. Bush's first term. That was an anomaly. So historically, the people who got their president in office stay home. Happened with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton won in 92, and then in 94, Newt Gingrich and Republicans swept the House of Representatives. So if you want the Democrats to have power, if you want to see this cycle continue, just vote Democrat. Wherever you live. I mean, I'm being watched all over the country. You've got elections coming up. Now, there's something else you can do. No matter what party you're in, independent, Democrat, Republican, if you don't feel like voting Democrat, just stay home. Don't go out and vote. I mean, it's probably a good idea for you to remember why we have the vote. You do remember why we vote, right? Why we have a vote? We have a vote so we don't have to kill people. You understand that, right? The reason that we have elections is so that we don't have to kill people. I mean, that's the far end of the spectrum, but historically, throughout time, the overthrow of power or the change of power came when there was war, killing people, assassinations, killing people, coups, killing people. Sometimes there was imprisonments. Sometimes there were disappearances, which is killing people. Sometimes there was exile, or you would confiscate someone's property, maybe torture their family, and then exile them, let them live barely. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of power changes happened on a political, governmental sense. They happened through death. Yeah, obviously you have the death of a king whose son then takes his place. But even under Cromwell in England, Charles I was beheaded at the order of Parliament. Okay? He was killed. So the American Revolution, our forefathers politically, the Americans killed British soldiers. We want independence. No, we won't give you independence. We want independence. We're not going to give it to you. Okay, we're going to kill you until you give us what is rightfully ours, independence. So remembering why we have elections. We have elections so that we don't have to kill people, or maybe not you and I kill people, but other people don't have to kill people. And that's the option. Or you have elections in certain, let's say Muslim countries, once in a while there are some elections, but Christians aren't allowed to vote. So there is a peaceful transfer of power, but then you have that subclass, that slave class, that is still under the heel. And by the way, I've got to take a break, but I'm going to bring up two small illustrations to exemplify why I believe, and I say this with fear and trepidation. You know what? I'll say it when I come back from the break. Don't go away. I need as much time as I can to develop this thought. It's It's a little bit fearful. I told you this is going to be a show where I'm just trying to get you to think. Don't go away. What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Muhammad and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, "I learned more from What Would Mohammed Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life." Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700 or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Friend, we have a series that will help you and those you love to have an impact on this country. It's called Insurrecta Nex. That's Latin for revolution against the killing of innocent people. This is the history, the philosophy, and the theology of social revolution in America. We look at the Stamp Act, the Boston Tea Party, the abolition of slavery, the abolition of child labor, women's voting rights, the civil rights movement. All of them have this in common: courage, sacrifice, dedication, and in-your-face tactics and rhetoric. That's one of the reasons that we've been losing the culture wars the last 40 years, is because the bad guys are using these tactics and we aren't. We will send you this 14-part TV series along with these manuals for students, a teacher's facilitator guide for only $40. Go to 304-289-3700, 304-289-3700. What we just endured with Brett Kavanaugh was not about the American system of self-government. It was far more about the French Revolution. I watched a lot of news, and I was mortified and saddened to see that no one talked about the French Revolution. Last night was the first time that I heard any media talking head talk about the French Revolution. The French Revolution, for those of you who don't remember, was the overthrow of the French monarchy, and it was the beginning of communism. And it was also called the Terror, because if somebody was accused, just accused, they were brought before a tribunal, and 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, the very fact that they were accused meant that they were in fact going to be killed. Mobs were waiting. They would keep giving alcohol to the people on the tribunal. They were getting drunk, and there would be somebody who was an aristocrat, somebody who had money, somebody who was a landowner, and they were being killed. They were just being murdered. They were using the color of law to do it. It was all legal proceeding, but at the end, it was a terror. It was murder. Now, I think that the polls that show we are headed towards a violent shooting war in America, there was a heading the other day that said that we're sleepwalking towards civil war. I personally believe, and I say this with sadness and with great concern and fear for my children and grandchildren, that we are headed towards bloodshed. And I pray it doesn't happen. I pray that revival happens. I pray that people wake up to the evil that is consuming their souls. But I fear the trajectory that we're on is one toward violence. That a woman would tweet, a school teacher would tweet, "Who's going to take one for the team and kill Kavanaugh?" That she would be that stupid and evil at the same time takes the breath away. So I'm going to say something now, and I'm going to want you to think about it. Just think about it, and that is this. As much as I'm encouraging people to vote Democrat to get peace, and by the way, that's all a joke for those of you who don't get it, is that democracy is not sacrosanct. It is not the end of the matter. If an election is won and a majority votes, it doesn't mean that the right outcome has happened. And people do still have the right in some circumstances to kill to get out of what happened in the election. The only illustration I need to give you is that of slavery in America. The slaves of the South had the legitimate right to kill their so-called owners. They had the right, while they were being brought over here on ships, to commit a mutiny and kill the people on the ship, and to go to freedom. It was their God-given right. And the fact that a majority voted to put them in slavery doesn't mean that they had to submit. All you have to do is look at American slavery to understand that even an election at the end is not the final word. The final word is justice as it's defined by the laws of heaven. And that's what our founders believed. That's what the Declaration of Independence says. Study it, read it, ponder it. I'm out of time. God bless you.